Your competitor hopes you stop advertising. This is our accelerated growth map. Right now, we're going to be touching on paid and then the ROI behind paid, because who cares about paid if it's not making me money and I'm not able to scale my business, then who cares about all this? Paid ads is one of those things. It's the fastest way to scale, but if you don't do it right, you could burn money. You could just light it on fire. That being said, it's also like starting a fire with gas. You have these things like SEO and AIEO, whatever you want to call it, and Google Maps and content creation and videos and stuff like that. But that's long-term goals. That takes a while to build up and scale, especially if you've tried to do it. You really know that, right? But this is like the simplest, most effective way to get to the top, but Google's going to tax you for it. So you have to always have the math right. At the end of the day, this is hard work. If it was easy, everybody would have $20 million roofing companies. And that's what I'm here to guide you through this and show you what's ahead. And along the way, we'll point out low-hanging fruit. This is the entire ecosystem, everything that we do. We're only going to hit this one sliver, which is going to be the paid ads. But the paid ads really do reinforce maps. They reinforce your local service ads. They reinforce your organic rankings, your AI summaries. And you can see there's so much here to tackle, but right now we're just going to talk about this little sliver. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to gamble with your time and money like a casino and just think, oh, I'm going to do everything. Like, no, you need to do the low hanging foundational stuff first and then stack your wins on top of that foundation. And that's pretty much what our whole funnel is all about for roofers. All right, so let's get rolling. We're going to talk about next. We'll define the problem, outline the solution, and talk about the next steps towards success. Why paid search should be part of your roofing marketing strategy. It's fast, right? It scales, right? You can show up as much as you want wherever you want. Google is very geocentric, meaning if I'm searching for best pizza near me, I'm going to get the guy down the street or in the vicinity. So this is a way to take Google's search engine algorithm and game it. You're paying to be in traffic that you would never get organically on Google. And there's no limit. You're only limited by your goals, your budget, and your ability to perform. This is also like our ecosystem, like right here, the traffic, these are leads, and this is time. You can do just content creation, SEO, videos. You could do that alone, but you could see it takes so long to ramp up, right? So when you're working with any kind of company, like you need money out of the gate to pay for all this. So we start the fire with gas. We use pay-per-click in the beginning, even minimally. You don't need these big $1 million budgets or anything crazy, but you do need leads out of the gate so you're getting re-roof jobs right here, right now, while your long-term stuff is cooking. Building a fire with gas, building a fire with wood. Pay-per-click is gas, content creation, optimization, AI, that's with wood, right? I'm going to show you kind of like the pyramid. We're only going to dive in one section of this pyramid, but I want to outline it for you because it's different tools and they get different jobs done, right? So as a whole, you're going to have your organic foundation, your website, your Google business profile, your database where you have all your contacts in. Those are your assets that you actually have, right? And then we're going to be going on the second tier, which is going to be supporting that foundation, paid search, local service ads. We did a training on local service ads. I'm going to give you the link to that full training. We're only going to touch it so I can kind of outline it, but this is really going to be about Google ads and paid search. And then we're going to be doing a deep dive on all these other tiers. Retargeting automation, retargeting ads, that's a little bit later in the top of the funnel. So basically, paid directories, pay per lead. I'm not the biggest fan of like Angie's List or Home Advisor or Yelp. To me, paying for a shared lead is a very quick way to the bottom of profitability. It's like a race to the bottom. Like think of the tire kickers. Think of showing up as the last roof inspection after they've already had three or four, right? It's going to be rough. So this is really going to be about paid search, the organic foundation, and we'll touch on these other ones at a later date. Social ads, Not really the best way to get a new lead because it's a different intent. If I'm sitting around laying in bed, farting around on Facebook, all of a sudden your ad pops up. That's a lot different than like I have a hole in my roof right now. Like a storm just came through and ripped it off. Like I need to work with somebody and who can get to it today. I need to go to Google and find this person. That's a whole different intent. And we're going to really dive into that later on. And these top tiers, these are for if you're doing like 10 million and above, that's where you'll start implementing these. For under 10 million, paid search, local service ads are really the best way to go and get your feet wet. And now it's time to do a little bit of math, right? All this always has to make sense from a math point of view. So you really have to sit down and scratch your head and figure out like, what are my goals? What am I trying to accomplish here? And then what is the math that's going to get me there? So you're gonna have to write it down. And what I did was I put together just for adding $1 million in additional revenue on top of whatever you're doing, right? You're gonna have for 1 million, let's say that's 50 roofing jobs, you're going to need 250 qualified leads, right? And I'm not talking about junk leads, like people trying to sell you a Xerox machine. Remember, you're going to get 40% of your leads are going to be junk. So out of 400 leads, only 250 of them are going to be good. The rest are going to be people trying to sell you Xerox machines or just complete and utter junk. Things out of your areas, things you can't service, people from other countries, whatever. I usually like to use a 20% close rate. You could have a higher, you could have 25, 30. I always like to use numbers in the lowest form, worst case scenario numbers. That way you're planning for that. I don't like to use the best case scenario that everybody else uses. So yeah, 1 in 5 leads turns into a roof. So 250 leads times 20%, that's 50 jobs. 50 jobs times 20,000 a roof, which is like about the average in my area. You would need 50 jobs to get to 1 million, right? So if you're in other areas, you're going to need more jobs. If you're in an area that's high end, like metal roofs, tile, 50,000, $100,000 roofs, you're not going to need that many jobs, right? But I like to use this as an average because 20,000 is the average for a lot of different areas. And we also have, my brother Chris created this. It's an AI strategist tool. We covered this in depth on the last webinar that we did last month. This is a great tool to help you strategize. And he's constantly updating this and feeding it information. So it's a good one to bookmark as well and help you come up with your own numbers.